Well, hello and happy gaming, everybody. My name is Dark Sage Walker, and today we're going to be playing around with a interesting Dark Katana build. So obviously, because of that, we're using Radiant Blast because hey, good melee basic. Chaotic Rift for those tense dodge moments. Bouncing Bubble. And then you might be wondering, okay, if you're doing a Dark Katana build, why are you using Phantom Brigade? Well, funny thing. Obviously, I'm using this just to help control the battlefield. But if we were to switch off of that, well, now I don't have any melee arcana at all, so why is Dark Katana still lit up? Yep, you guessed it, Phantom Brigade still counts under the rules of Dark Katana. Why is that? Well, I guess because they fight in melee combat? I'll never quite understand why that counts as a melee move, but you know what? I'm going to use it to my advantage this time around. We will definitely take that. Alright. What are these? Conga drum set. Donkey Konga. But recovers slower from... No, I don't really feel the need to get beat down. Immune to elemental status effects. I don't know, I kind of dig being able to use elemental status effects, honestly. No. And that's just awkward. Let's just move forward. Yeah, why wouldn't they put Atlas at level 3? Yeah, why wouldn't they? Yeah, every run, why not? Hey, why don't we put Atlas at level 3? And didn't we just put Atlas at level 3? Yeah, but you see there's this thing that we're doing called fuck you. That's what we're doing. It's called, how about we make you really awkwardly tense every time you do a run? Because that's how we're getting our kicks. And we figure the best way for us to get our kicks is to make sure that Atlas shows up at the least opportune time for you. That way you have to really put a lot more effort into this than you want to by dodging all the poison and all the enemies who get to be invincible because fuck you. That's why. It's because fuck you. Jeez, could Darkseid swear anymore? Yes, he fucking could. Hey, do not test my ability to speak in sailor tongue. It is a language I know well. I will abuse the hell out of it until the day I die because, hey, we got freedom of speech, don't we? Yeah, that's right, fuck you. There we go. Today's episode of Woizard of Legend brought to you by the letters F and U. Now remember, kids, what's the word of the day? Fuck you. That's right. And as a special bonus, we'll teach you this other valuable word. Eat shit. Where did you learn such horrible language? They taught it to me on Darkseid Plays. Well, I'm gonna have to have a word with him. Teaching my son horrible lessons. I mean, let's face it here, Mama Karen. I ain't exactly here to teach a kid how to do their taxes. If anything, my goal here is to make sure you know the most appropriate use of Radiant Blast. Radiant Blast ain't exactly close to doing your taxes or minding your manners. I really see nothing here that I want aside from maybe Burn Cycle. And that's a maybe. Let's wait and see what else is available. I obviously spent money on some... Oh yeah, Merchant's Card. Duh. Have I found the Ruby Portal? Am I just so not mindful of my surroundings that I managed to forget? No, I haven't seen Ruby Portal yet. And hey, look! Look, everybody, it's Taffy! Fresh from his appearance in Fortnite! Oh, I will definitely take Tidal Blast. That will work out quite well with Dark Katana. And, because it's the upgraded version, I get myself a bit of a shield, too. So what we kind of have going on here is a little technicality going on. I am going to take this, by the way. With Dark Katana, where we're using things that by all rights really shouldn't count, but they still work because, hey, who knows what the developers were smoking at the time. All I know is that I might want some. He's for the legalization of marijuana. Well, whether I am or not, that doesn't really have much to do with the gameplay, so let's clip that on the head and move on. Oh no! Oh no again! No, we're playing this careful. He's such a negative influence on my children. I don't know what they see in him. Oh, maybe they just see someone who's really good at Woizard of Legend, man. That's not enough. Yeah, like, I don't really make the rules of what is and isn't acceptable in society. All I know is that, for the most part, I disagree with a lot of what the mainstream says. We agree on that, we move on. Cool, cool. Alright. Look, there's ghouls. Again, trying not to be too serious. Yesterday was serious enough. I think today it's time to hang back, relax, just have a nice lemon lime drink, in this case a sparkling ice, and just be groovy. I am not one of those people that wants to use everything as a cry for help. I don't even feel like I need a lot of help right now. If anything, what I need is just to make sure that I have myself an actual paying job when the CARES Act comes to an end on the 25th. At least I think it's the 25th. Could even be earlier than that. I would like it to not be earlier than that, but what do I know? All I know is that after I get back to work, the videos are maybe going to be a little bit less frequent, so hopefully that doesn't end up being a huge problem for some of you. And I do apologize for that. Let's be fair, I enjoy doing this way more than I thought I would when I first started. But there is also the idea that right now, I can't actually make a living doing this alone. There's more than one reason why I'm not monetizing my videos, and it's not just because of my propensity to say fuck, or because of the theoretical jokes about my penis. It's more so because I don't feel like I have enough of a following to try to monetize this, at least as of yet. There's also a part of me that feels as though it's a little unfair to expect my audience to pay for my lifestyle. That having been said, if there is some interest in someone helping, in you guys, dropping a little money on the table to help a brother out, I would not be opposed to setting up a Patreon and working with that, or maybe Subscribestar if it turns out that Patreon is, a bunch of assholes who are full of shit. Like, I'm not opposed to that, but before I guess this is the serious portion of the video, so I apologize. You guys are probably not even thinking about that, but yeah, if there's some interest in you guys being willing to help a brother out via Patreon or Subscribestar or whatever, by all means, let me know, and I can set that up. I would like to set that up, but I don't want my audience to feel as though they have to pay for my content. That's not what I'm even suggesting. What I'm suggesting is that is that this could be a legit job opportunity, but not only do I need to know that there's an interest in someone allowing me to make it a job opportunity, but also I want to make... Pardon me. What was I thinking about? Oh no, what was I doing? I was going back and grabbing the Augur of Poetry. Otherwise, Atlas might kick my ass. But yeah, not only do I need to know that there's some interest and people are willing to do that, but I want there to be a complete mutual understanding that I'm not asking you guys to pay for my content. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I am trying to do is maybe turn this into something not only more lucrative, but just more interesting. Because with the time and freedom that I have right now to do this, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I find it liberating. I enjoy doing it, but unfortunately, obligations make it kind of difficult to do that if I don't have some sort of finances coming in, which is why I'm probably going to have to return to work. That's the second time they've caught me with that shock nova. That's embarrassing. Ow! Okay, well that fight kind of kicked my ass. That was a lot of just me not being careful with where I was going, with trying to like talk about my what's going on in the future at the same time, and then my brain going, wait, I'll shut down. What was going on again? Alright, so if I can find a good wind spell that works with the whole Dark Katana thing, I think that would help a lot in the Atlas fight. There we go. So that's kind of where my mind is at right now, is I would love to do this more or less full-time, but I need to be able to do things like, you know, have food and pay rent. And I don't want that necessarily to fall on you guys. I'm trying to wait to start. I was trying to wait to monetize until I had enough subscribers. But, and no, this is no one's fault. This is just, you know, I'm a new YouTuber. The whole, you know, building a channel takes time, and unfortunately, paying my bills is something that has to happen on a timely basis. It's the unfortunate reality of, hey, the world we live in kind of sucks, doesn't it? Yeah, it kind of sucks a little bit. Yep. I don't think anyone's willing to disagree with that. Just the world in general kind of blows. Well, hopefully I'll find the enhancements for the Arcana that I want to use. And it's not like they're doing terrible damage with that now. They're not. But we can always be doing better. So, I don't know, let me know what you guys think. Again, I don't want you guys to necessarily have to pay for my content. That's not even what I'm saying. I'm just saying if you're interested in helping a brother out, it would be appreciated. The content will be coming regardless. It's just once I have to go back to work, and that is also kind of an if perhaps the other act gets passed, you know, in a timely fashion. Which it's kind of funny to think about, you know, Congress doing anything in a timely fashion, but if it does pass quickly, that takes a little bit of weight off my back and allows me to continue doing this and continue building myself up. Like I said, this is what I like doing. I enjoy this. It's not only just a creative outlet, it's also an outlet for just... It's a psychological outlet. I get to use this to just talk about what's on my mind and do so in a manner that that suits my creative interests. Like, don't get me wrong, I really enjoy doing this. I enjoy doing this just as much as I enjoy saying, fuck you. Ow, just wandered right into that. I'm a genius. Get 'em, boys! Yeah! Well, I can't cheat this one, but this one's easy enough. So, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say on that. If you guys are interested in helping a brother out, let me know. The content comes regardless. It just might come a little bit slower without just a minor financial infusion. Regardless, I want you guys to understand that. I do like the idea of the Magician's Top Hat. I also like the idea of the Wanderer's Mechanism. But I think Magician's Top... Oh yeah, I don't have enough money. Derp. I guess the question is, which of those two items would be more useful? Which one would create the more useful fusion item should I find the other half of it? Alright, that could have gone better, but also could have gone a lot worse. No major complaints. I think Magician's Top Hat is what I'm going to take, because if I can find the wand, that would technically be more useful. It's a more overall damage up and not just to my signature. Now, if it turns out I made the wrong choice, and the game was like, oh, you should have taken that, you could have had the perfect time crystal, loser. And then I'll just be like, oh, well, sucks to be me. Perfect. Beautiful. Alright, now we can move away from this little dead end here, and move on to trying to find something that resembles, progression, or continuity. Or even just better arcana. You see what I'm getting at here. We need to move forward somehow. Get him! Get him! Oh, you didn't finish getting them! Sorry, I had things to do. There's some jackass who said something about teaching me how to file my taxes. Oh, I don't know who that could have been. That could have been anyone. Wait, you followed me all the way down here? Christ, you're persistent. Stupid, but persistent. Hey. No, I don't think so. Bits and bots are not allowed to jump up my ass. Thought you guys learned that lesson in Zelda 2. Sorry, that guy was my cousin. He never told me anything about that. Huh, delinquent jerk then. This is Cremier's spot, so if I find any relics I don't really want, I can just come over here and drop them off. Right now, I've more or less got what I want. that was known as a beatdown. Oh, why yes, I'll definitely take Surefire Rocket, sir. You really know how to cheer a fella up. Oh, I'm sorry, did you think you were a Dragoon? I hate to inform you of this, but you're not exactly a member of the Highwind family, sir. Even if you were, you still made a stupid decision there. Excellent! See, this is why I always say that even if you are using a melee-focused run, you should have some sort of projectile to help you control space. And in my eyes, there are few projectiles better at helping to control space than bouncing bubbles. And it's not a huge damage dealer, but that's not necessarily the point. The whole point of bouncing bubbles is that it does a great job at keeping enemies in hit stun so that you can prepare your next couple of moves. What are you? Megalodon Tooth. What is this? There's a chance that I can use my signature without expending the charge, so I can use it twice. Love it. That's right, Megalodon Tooth is good now. Originally, it was one of the two Arcana that was like, we make wave-based Arcana better. But then that came with the problem of, well, what the hell do you consider to be a wave-based Arcana? And, you know, some of them, yeah, it made some sense, but that was next level dodge right there. I know, you thought you had me, didn't you? And Aqua Beam. I mean, it doesn't really go well with what I have, but I'll take it. Wrong button. Also keep in mind the controller I'm using has the Nintendo button layout, but I'm using it with essentially the Xbox controller configuration. So everything is a little backwards for me. So if you see me if you hear me just mashing the wrong button going, well, I'm doing things, then that would be why. Punch, punch, punch. Yes, that's right, we use burning punches here. Burning punches and nothing else. And then, of course, as I had mentioned earlier in the episode, we are also using... Oh, I've got to get rid of you as soon as possible. Thanks, game. That was exactly the direction I wanted to fire that. And I really hate how these little roly-poly guys, they don't just have an extended hitbox, they are the hitbox, so no using melee against them. No, guys, no, you went away too soon. You didn't finish your job. No, you're supposed to brutalize the summoner. That's some good knight action there, boys. I'm telling you. Boy, I love detouring for large expanses of time just to hit a dead end. That reminds me of old JRPG dungeons. Actually, one not even one game, or not even one dungeon, one game is what comes to mind when I think of that. Anyone remember Final Fantasy II? I don't mean like evade chance improvement, yes sir. But I don't mean like, you know, what was released in Final Fantasy II back in the 90s, which was actually Final Fantasy IV, because apparently Square Enix... And the joke is, oh god, they don't know how to count. No, the joke is, for some reason they thought we were too stupid to understand that Final Fantasy IV would have been the 4th installment, even though we only had one other installment here. So instead of them going, oh, we don't want them questioning where the other games in the series are, they just decided, hey, how about we just release it as Final Fantasy II? Because, hey, for them it's the second one and they'll never know the difference. Problem is, everyone noticed the difference. So a lot of us were going, you really like Final Fantasy II? Oh yeah, Final Fantasy II is great, but why did it take them so long to make a second Final Fantasy? If it did so well, then how come we're only just now getting Part 2? And it just kind of clicked in everyone's head, oh yeah, this isn't Part 2, is it? Someone lied. So what was marketed here as Part 2 is actually Part 4. And the real Final Fantasy II is a much different beast. Thank you, Iris. So, let's talk about that for a minute. So, what was released here as Final Fantasy II is actually Final Fantasy IV. And we wouldn't see the real Final Fantasy... You roly-poly bastards. And we wouldn't see the real Final Fantasy II for quite a while. When we did, what we found out is that it was essentially the original Final Fantasy with a slightly more open-ended means to character development. And I won't lie, it was an interesting and ambitious idea to allow us more freedom over character customization. The problem is, the method in which they went about allowing us to do that sucked. Like, there's just no other way about it. It was just an awful means. So, what it was, and again, this makes sense in theory, is that whatever actions you take during combat will improve some certain aspect of your character. And again, this works well in theory if things are balanced and it's not too difficult to level up your stats. So how do you think it went? Yeah, you're right, it sucked. I already alluded to that, but now we're going to explain why. As soon as I'm feeling censored here. There we go. Friendship bracelet? What? I'm by myself! Yeah! That just made me feel lonely and sad. Thanks, friendship bracelet. You're a real pal! Do I want the permafrost cube? Yes, I want the permafrost cube. So what it basically boils down to is, if you want to level up your physical defense, you got to get hit by physical attacks. You want to level up your magic defense, you got to get hit by magic attacks. You want to level up certain weapon types, you got to use those weapon types in combat. You want to level up a spell, you got to use that spell in combat. And again, this all worked out well, except for, you know, the parts that didn't. So it ended up creating a system where the only real way to level yourself up appropriately was to get into a fight with something relatively weak and then beat the shit out of yourself. And it was about as efficient as you can imagine. And that was the best and most efficient way of doing things. But then there were the other things that were lacking in efficiency. Now, to explain what I mean by that, in a system like that, you would expect that as you get later in the game, it'd be harder and harder to level things up because it would take essentially more quote-unquote experience. And you'd be right. The problem with that is that as you went on further and further into the game, I will take this, thank you, and I may come back for Sleepy Thunderstone and drop the Loneliness Bracelet. The problem is, you don't necessarily get more experience for these things the later you get into the game. So you're kind of stuck. You're kind of stuck doing the same thing over and over again. And the maximum level for spells or weapons was 15, and it took an exaggerated amount of time to get those up to maximum level, to the point where the only spell I could get up to maximum level, because it was the only spell I used continuously, was Cure. Because in order to get the job done, you need hit points, right? And you know how the old saying goes: so long as hit points. As long as I have more than one, I'm good to go, baby. So that was the only spell in that game that I could ever get up to. That I could, ever get up to maximum level. The others just took way too much time, and with the exception of very few enemies in the game, there was nothing that you couldn't handle with the good old combination of sword and fist. Now, why sword and fist when there were so many other weapon types? And it's true, there were a lot of other weapon types. There were staves, there were bows, there were daggers, there were tons of other weapon types. Problem being, there weren't a ton of other weapons. So, at endgame, the only weapons that you were going to be using, because these were the only ones that you saw continual improvement for, were swords, bows, and then you would use your fists because you didn't need to find anything special to make those effective. You just had to keep using them. Where did you come from? Like, seriously, how long were you just standing there waiting for me? Didn't you have anything better to do? You could have made yourself a sandwich. You could have, just gotten some shopping done, cleaned up the house a little bit, filed your taxes. Yes, I am gonna milk that joke for all it's worth. Oh boy, Okay, gonna need a health potion when I'm done here. Because I am having a hard time keeping myself together. Alright, go buy a health potion, because otherwise you're gonna get stomped. Increases the max number of summons for all summon arcana. So, I have a question about this. Does this mean that pop-up primer no longer works on, on this thing that obviously says summon, because they want you to use the pop-up primer and the hardcover textbook? Because if so, that is... I'm sorry, that's a poor design choice. Just let the pop-up primer do its job. Instead of 5 knights, I could have 6, but no, you had to separate it out into 2 separate friggin' relics. So what it really turned into is, because you could never really get... Because you could never actually get your spells up to maximum rank because it just took too long to be feasible. So magic ended up being useless in that game. Yeah, I don't really want that, sorry. And because of that, the entire game, like, if you were really trying to roleplay it out properly and have a game of, like, this is your knight. This is your beatdown guy. This is your mage. Well, the mage really rarely ever saw any use because all they needed to do was cast Cure. But yeah, attack spells, yeah, those were way too difficult to level up, and I think that has partially to do with the property of how the spell leveling system works. You get more experience for your spells the higher level the enemy you hit. But it didn't necessarily work that way for leveling up your weapon skills. You leveled up your weapon skills just by whacking away. And yes, I know how that sounded. There we go. Beautiful. It just really ended up being just an awful, awful way to do a game. Like seriously, I don't really know what Square was thinking when they made the original Final Fantasy II. And again, it's not like the game did everything wrong. It introduced a lot of really interesting things. It introduced Sid. It introduced a more complex storyline. There were things that Final Fantasy II has under its belt that were wonderful additions to the series in the long run. It just also had some garbage. And the whole reason why I brought that up is because there is another part of Final Fantasy II that, when I was talking about Dead End, like way, way long ago, it reminded me of something from Final Fantasy II. And that is that there is this fun little trick that the game liked to do to you when you ran into a dead end, where you would walk into a room in a dungeon, and it would be a dead end. You walk through a door and it would be a dead end. Okay, no harm, no foul. There are wrong turns to be made in dungeons. But usually if you make a wrong turn, there's you'll be able to reap something from it. Some sort of treasure, some sort of benefit from going the wrong way, even if it is just, okay, I know which way not to go now. But Final Fantasy II had this really interesting design choice that they made where you step into someone's attack without even thinking about it because you're not paying attention to what's going on. But no, back on topic here. Come on, genius brain. But they had this thing where you would go through the door, and then you would be spawned right in the middle of the room. And for God only knows whatever reason, these dead end rooms were like, let's just say that the encounter rate was like, we'll just say like a 5 to 10% chance per step, and I get the feeling that in Final Fantasy II it was a lot higher than that. But in these dead-end rooms, the encounter rate was something like 80 to 90% per step. And there's nothing else in that room, so you go in there and you go, oh fuck, that's a wrong turn. And then you turn around and, oh surprise, it's another battle! And then you get out of that battle either by running or by just spamming the fight command, as you tended to do at that point in the game. And then there's a very good chance, that you might run into a second fight on your way out of the room. So every dead end you ran into in Final Fantasy II was just a punishment of both time and resources, because now you had to spend, time obviously, but then potentially more MP, more items if the battles were particularly tough. Like, it was just such a horrible design decision. Like, honestly, what was Square thinking? And if it's your first time through the game, you have no idea which of these rooms are the time waster rooms. So if you're anything like me, a 100% completionist nut, you're gonna go into every single room looking for every single treasure and get your time wasted every single time. It was terrible! Anyways, Final Fantasy II sucks. Go play Final Fantasy IV instead. It's a much better game. Thank you very much for listening to my Final Fantasy rant. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe, drop a like, leave a comment. Let me know if any of you guys are interested in the whole Patreon subscribe star thing. I mean, yes, I'm interested, but it's not my money I'd be spending for it, so I want to know what you guys think, because like I said, I would like to do this full time, and I would have a good time doing it. So anyway, that's all I've got for right now. Thank you very much for spending your time with me. I do very much appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next one. My name is Dark Sage Walker, and I will be seeing you.